into the sky.
Look in the sky.
Keep your head up high.
High. Keep your head high.
Take a look into the sky.
Mike Smith goes to a ride on Justify. They are nose to nose. Justify now sticks a neck in front. He's going to try to put away Good Magic, and they're into the stretch. And Mike Smith goes to the whip on Justify. Tenfold is closing in with Ravazzo on the outside as the field comes into the final furlong. It is Justify in front. Good Magic on the outside. Tenfold. Ravazzo. Justify. He's unstoppable. He won the Preakness. Ravazzo was second. Tenfold was third. Good Magic was fourth. In a final time of 1 minute 55 and 4/5 seconds. Not even the fog could stop him.
So 2/3 of this 2018 Triple Crown Series in the books. Justifies won the Derby and the Preakness. As Pete Aiello and Jason Blewett join you here on Gulfstream today. You've been watching racing for a long time, so have I, since the summer of '93. Have you ever seen a Triple Crown race shrouded in fog like that?
No, and I mean, you and I were talking off camera. Kudos to both Dave Rodman and Larry Colmus for doing an absolutely amazing job under the less than ideal circumstances. I can tell you right now, sitting at this chair, I wouldn't have wanted to be in that position, and had I been in that position, there is no way in the world I could have delivered a call that either one of them did.
No, they were both very crisp and on the money, as was Justify, and that was the NBC feed we just looked at with Larry Colmus high in the booth above Pimlico. So it's on to the Belmont Stakes, and no matter what happens, and clearly Justify was getting a bit leg weary and was lucky the wire came when it did, but he ran well, winning yesterday's Preakness, a fairly slow Preakness with a buyer of 97, but as we go forward, no matter what happens, the fact that basically 3 months to the day that this horse was an unraced maiden to a perfect 5 for 5 and an unbeaten winner of both the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness. I mean, this horse may be in the history books no matter what happens in the Belmont Stakes for the rest of time.
Well, he has to be, only because he broke the curse of Apollo. So if nothing else, he's going to be in the history books for doing that. So
it's pretty incredible, though.
Yeah, and I think that building on that, I think that will be the #1 talking point for naysayers leading up to the Belmont is look what we're asking him to do. Now, what would happen if he did it? Then he would have to go into the legend category.
No question about it. I mean, we've had one unbeaten winner of the Triple Crown, and, of course, the mighty, legendary Seattle Slew, who I think would be in the conversation as one of the greatest horses of all time, or the greatest horse, rather, what he was able to do on the racetrack, and even more so as a stallion and a stallion of stallions, et cetera, et cetera. So the Justified Belmont Stakes, 20 days away from his showdown in New York. And I'm just wondering, because I sent out a poll last night, maybe a half hour after the Preakness, just straight up yes or no on Twitter.
I answered you.
Oh, you did? Good. Does he win the Triple Crown?
No.
Okay, no. Do you have a horse 3 weeks out from the Belmont, or do you have anybody in mind from the Derby,
I have
maybe?
a feeling for me it's going to be a lot like it was going into the Preakness, where on paper it doesn't look like he can beat, but conventional wisdom says that he can't do it. So
right.
I'll just have to find somebody.
All right. It'll be a fun 3 weeks, though. Triple Crown possibility, always a good time, and we'll be watching here from South Florida.
I loved one of the tweets from one of the NYRA employees after the Preakness yesterday. Rest in peace to all NYRA employees for the next 3 weeks.
Yep.
You've experienced that. I haven't, but I can only imagine the amount of hours that goes into putting on a show that they're going to have
My
to put
first
on.
ever Belmont Stakes, I was still in college at the time, was Charismatic in 1999. Did a lot of Belmonts up there. Great memories, and obviously got to see American Pharaoh. I was right on the finish line with my binoculars, clearly, and always will be one of the greatest moments of my life. Now, the thing with racing is, look, you have a horse that wins the Derby and the Preakness, you're looking ahead to the Belmont. For us, we're looking ahead to this 11-race card on an overcast, but thankfully, the Raiders tapered off, I should say, here in South Florida. Let's get everybody up to speed, and it's so good to have you with us here from our clubhouse studios high above the finish line at Gulfstream Park on this sloppy Sunday, May the 20th, as we have that 50-cent early pick 5 getting underway a little after 1:15 p.m. The high 5 today, Pete, with the carryover, kicks off in the 3rd.
Not many opportunities to play a high 5 here today, so when you do have one, take use of it. It's a $1 minimum play.
Absolutely, and a Rainbow 6 coming up. We picked up a few more thousands yesterday in the carryover kitty, so 41 Gs, a little over 41K, and race number 6 is the launching point to Sunday's Rainbow. And then we have the 50-cent late pick 5, and who knows, maybe we'll get a real rainbow out in the infield today if the sun decides to show up for the first time in what seems like quite a few days here in South Florida. It's been a wet week. You've had to really hone your handicapping skills for off tracks, and we'll look to get back on the turf next week. But amazingly, this main track, Pete, even yesterday, I walked away and I just perused the charts from Saturday's 12-race card. Just seems very fair and even to me.
It was, and that's so bizarre. I mean, you can count on one hand the times that's the case when we have rain on this main track. It usually plays polar one side to the other. Either you can't win from off the pace or you can't win if you're not on the pace.
Yeah, no doubt. So we'll keep tabs on it today, but that's been the good news. Very unbiased, fair, and even. If you're good enough, you're good enough. You can get to the winner's circle. And I hope you get to the winner's circle with this early pick 5. I really do.
Well, I hope so too. Certainly, it's a sequence that was marred by scratches. I'm actually worried about the first race more than any of the other legs in the sequence. I'll go 3 deep. Song of Melody appears to be the horse to beat in here, drawing in off the main track only. Same with Up the Road, but to me, Song of Melody is easily better than Up the Road. I'll also toss in another horse in that particular race, the number 6, Extravagant Baby. She has a decent enough race over the main track. Second leg is the single. Is it the right single? I don't know, but 40 Sweetheart runs the race she ran last time. They will run for second money. That I can promise you. 3 deep in the third race. One of those 3 will win it. I don't know which one, but there will be the 9, 10, or 11 who gets the job done. In the fourth race, I'm going to use 2 horses and hope that I have the right 2. The Key Scratch of Michelle's Laugh makes me feel better about that. I'll use the 2 Cresses and the 7 Caribbean Girl. They're both in pretty good form. 3 deep to close the sequence. I'll use the 1 Order In, an unknown commodity on the dirt. The 3 Nellie's Cat at a Price. Just lightly race type animal. And number 8, My Sweet Lorraine. She's a proven loser, but her races on the main track aren't as bad as some of the other horses in here, relatively speaking. So we'll see how it goes. And it's a $27 play, so you're not going to get stung too bad.
No, absolutely. Very budget-minded and modest, which is how I play and what I like to see. And I think, you've got the right single in the sequence in 40 Sweetheart, and we'll look at her race in just a couple of minutes here on the show. And I like that you didn't stand alone with Order In, who I picked. I didn't know where else to go in the 5th race, but that horse is going to be an overwhelming favorite, and it clearly is a huge question mark on the dirt.
That whole race will get there, but there's nothing to hang your hat on.
There really isn't. Now, a different ball game here in race number 1, as we have a field of 5 in the Sunday First on this May 20th here at Gulfstream Park. As we are off the turf, and again, we sprint the 5/8 over the slop, you've got a couple of MTOs, and they just look better than the 3 other fillies in the body of the race. And the 8, Song of Melody, when it comes down to it, she might just be a dirt horse after all.
Well, I think so. And I'm only thing, if there's a chink in the armor, is the fact that she was dropped in off of a win for 16 and for 12-5. But that's just Lacerda playing the game smartly. So I wouldn't read too much into any of that. I think Song of Melody. Look, we're going to have a lot of this here today where we have the same 4 horses in the same order.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And I'll tell you, Joe Orsino off the claim. He has got a turf sprinting monster and maybe even a miler when it comes down to it. I'm anxious to see how this campaign as a 4-year-old in 2018 will play out for Imprimis, who won the Jim McKay turf sprint on Friday at Pimlico. What do you think of that horse?
What a cool horse. He just does everything they ask him to do. They sent him to the front when he was down here. He came from behind the other day. I mean, it's great.
Yeah, and he might stretch out. He's certainly bred to go a little longer than 5/8 or even 6 on the turf. He's got Broken Vow on the top side and a very, very strong old-school Hobo Farms pedigree on the dam side. Thinking about the Chief with that one. Race number 2 on the dirt, scheduled dirt race for this 3-and-up filly mare, 6250 claimer. And here's a look at Pete's early pick 5 single. And in fact, the number 640 Sweetheart is likely going to play the majority of people's single in the early 4 and the early 5, as she did what she had to do. And what she did was pretty darn good here on Kentucky Derby Day, May 5th. She is all alone. My one caveat with her, and I think she's going to report home at a short price, is this win, first off the claim for Armando, you would think almost warrants a bump up in class, yet he jams her right back in for the 6250.
I don't know about that. Where's she going to run? Are you going to run her against 12-5 option of Florida breds like she had been doing? She had marginal success doing that.
I hear you, and she doesn't have that restricted Florida bred allowance condition because she won it back here in mid-January. So look, I might take a shot runner for 12.5 in the opens, but anyway, they've got her to get around. And to me, perhaps the main danger will come from the shed row that she appears from. As Armando runs 2, he's also got the 5 Clouded Appeal. You've got the cold 6-3.
Yeah, I mean, Clouded Appeal has a shot in the race. Her form in Tampa's okay. It's not bad. Loving Valentina and Milbra, for me, underneath, they're the most consistent in this division behind the big favorite.
All right, on to race number 3. You went 3 deep, and that may tell you in this off-the-turf Sunday third, a 3-and-up non-winners, a 1 optional claimer, that there are 3 MTOs between the 9 Coronado again, the 10 Evolution, who's really had a resurgence and has enjoyed a bit of a renaissance off the claim for trainer Ralph Zadie and Lawson Racing, and then the 11 Shadow Rock on the outside. I like the MTO, so do you. However, pace in this one could be pretty quick.
Yeah, and that's why I use Coronado again, because for me, he's the type of horse that when you have a race where it's speed of the speed, this horse can flat boogie if you want him to, and I think he's going to hook Evolution. Evolution is so much the best on form and on company lines, it's not funny. The horse who ran him down last time out, Divine Ambition, is a win machine and was one of the horses of the meet at Tampa, including a stakes placed behind XY Jet. So you're dealing with a serious racehorse that beat Evolution last time out. This horse loves the slop. I mean, there's a lot of things to like about Evolution. The problem is the 9 is every bit as fast early. I figured the 9 maybe outsprints him.
And the 5, I'm a Wildcat, who does like an off track, but here's a little nugget on him. 2 of his slop wins were easy trips up at Finger Lakes. 1 was a wire-to-wire win over the now defunct inner track at Aqueduct. So he might be a little dressed up in terms of his winning slop form in the past. He brings speed to the race. I'm going to take the big bump in class and claiming price, thinking this might be a little old school Peter Walder on the outside with the 11 Shadow Rock.
I'll tell you what, from a pace scenario, if he can sit out wide like he has done on the turf, on the dirt today, he's so well situated because the 5, 9, and 10 are going to be knocking heads, not necessarily because they want to, but because they have to. It's just the way they play the game.
Yeah, we'll see how he does. He's a bit of an unknown at 5/8 on the dirt. I get that. But again, if he sits the trip, he's going to cut them all down in race number 3. It's a good little race, though, for an off-the-turf race, for sure. There's a lot going on in the 3rd. 4th race, however, you might be safe in the early 4 and the early 5, just getting away with the number 2 Cresses and the number 7 horse Caribbean Girl on the outside. In this 10K maiden claimer with a field of 5 now after scratches, they just seem like they're on a different plane.
Especially after the horse who beat them last time, De Vuelta, came back to run very well against winners earlier this week. She ended up 2nd, so that form cycle holds up pretty good. I think Cresses has more upside, and obviously so do you, than Caribbean Girl for 2 reasons. 1, she's more lightly raced filly. 2, she's coming into the race off of an improving form pattern. And 3, and for me, the key part of this, she's faster early than Caribbean Girl, who doesn't have much early speed. I think the 4 cuts it out here. Here comes the Ghost. The 2 Cresses right behind, and then Caribbean Girl after that.
Yeah, tactical edge. I saw that as well for the number 2 Cresses, as Miguel Vasquez, meanwhile, will be on Caribbean Girl. He continues to ride in fine form. And it sounds silly, but it seems like horses that he is on, even especially the bigger price ones, it's almost like he gives them a bit of confidence and they feel very comfortable running beneath him. Right?
I don't disagree with that at all. He definitely has a knack for horses. If the horses he went on, I'll give you a perfect example of exactly what you're talking about. Amaluna. She doesn't run well for anybody else. They tried somebody else the other day and she was nowhere.
Yeah.
But when Miguel gets on, she's a completely different mare.
Just got the Midas touch as we get on to the 5th race. A 5th race that does not have any form on the main track. As we stretch out, we'll go the 2 turns and a mile and a 16th on the main. This race is all about the 1 order in. If this horse is able to replicate any of her races on the turf to the dirt, and it's a big if, she's going to win, and she's probably going to win by open lengths. I don't love her as the favorite, and she's going to be an underlaid favorite. Pete, I didn't know where else to go.
I don't argue. I mean, I went with the 8 My Sweet Lorraine because I think if Barrios sends her as hard as he sent that horse yesterday, whose name's going to come to me, Bodie Dog, he rode that horse away from there like they were going 300 yards. If he does that here, he'll get the lead on My Sweet Lorraine. If I can get in front, let's take a shot.
Yeah, might get brave on the front end as we still have a Rainbow 6, Pete's late pick 5, and a pretty darn nice Sunday feature coming up after this quick timeout.
At ExpressBet, we celebrate the champions that make horse racing great. That's why we provide more ways to bet from more places than ever. We've built an entire family of brands to give players more of the rewards they deserve. Give bettors the information they need to win and provide a community for horse bettors. Because the best way to support the champions of horse racing is to champion horse racing. ExpressBet. We are racing.
And Gulfstream is pulling away.
Gulfstream blows them away with an eye-opening performance.
Awesome again has won. Gulfstream kicking clear.
Judy the Beauty.
Hardy, welcome back on this live Sunday edition. We're dry. We hope you're dry wherever you're checking out this edition of Gulfstream today. Pete Aiello, Jason Blewett, third floor clubhouse studios at Gulfstream Park. Let's hope there's no more rain slopping off the turf. And are you ready for the rainbow today?
I think I'm ready for the rainbow today. I don't know about you, but the late pick 5 sequence, I had to reach in the pocket a little bit. It's tough, even with the scratch.
I hear you. I had to whittle this Rainbow 6. The initial ticket I drew up was about $60, and I said, I can't go on TV and give out a $60 play. So whittled it down a little more. I'm hoping, though, I made the right decision because I feel some people might stand alone in the nightcap with either the inside horse going out for Gilberto Zerpa and the one Don't Believe Watch, or the number 9 Magic 2, who has got far less high-profile connections. I opted, obviously, in this ticket for about $40 to use both of them. I couldn't come up with, and your point's well taken, Pete, with this sequence, I couldn't come up with a single in any of these races, and I especially think our featured 10th race is about as salty an allowance race you're going to get this time of year in South Florida.
I agree, and I think the 11th race is tricky also. We both used the one Don't Believe Watch, but I didn't use Magic 2, and I can see why you did, having just looked at it again. So it's a very tough last race. There's only 4 in it, but I think 3 of the 4 have a major chance.
Right, and that's one of the tricky things, putting in tickets. You go mentally, you're going, man, it's a 4-horse field. I would love to just, pull the trigger on a single and be done with the race. Do I really want to double and perhaps triple this play in a 4-horse field? So these are the kind of questions you've got to decide and ask yourself. We wish we did, unlimited budgets. Now, in this opening leg of the Rainbow 6, how about this condition, too? Florida bred 25K maiden claimers. This does not, I don't really recall us running restricted Florida bred maiden claimers. What about you?
I guess if I was trying to guess, I would happen to figure that maybe they figured it out after the fact almost, or they just hung it up as an extra to see what sticks, because a lot of these horses that run in these races are Florida bred anyway.
Yeah, it does make sense, and this actually turned out to be a field respectable in numbers. Now, we did have a couple of scratches. We got a half dozen that are set to battle, and we've got Rocky Strange, who I have chased. Boy, have I chased this horse with the Lonhro and the Danzig. I've been on this horse since his 2-year-old season. He's had a couple of different trainers since then, and he's still looking for that elusive maiden win. One more time today for Rocky Strange. I also respect the 4 who you've got on top. That is a Talking Point. And why don't we show you, thanks to our friends at XBTV, the last workout here a couple of days ago for this homebred gelding by Backtalk. The work not visually impressive, but the good news with him, probably got a little education out of this run because he was the one specifically stuck between these 3 horses for trainer Ralph Nix. So there you go, Talking Point, trying to keep his real estate, try to keep his position from between horses. Not a flashy work by any means, but you say, didn't look all that visually impressive, but he was between. And after all, Pete, I mean, they are debuting him in a maiden 25.
Yeah, the problem is the one of the horses that he was outworked by there, Smarty Boots, ran pretty bad down debut earlier this week.
Was that horse bet or no? Do you remember?
Middle of the road.
Middle of the road, so didn't really get bet.
Was well beaten, so honestly, I hadn't seen that until we went on the air. Can I change my pick?
So you want, essentially, at least you got Gaffleone, and by the way, it's good to have Tyler with us back here in South Florida. He spent, Thursday and Friday up in Maryland riding at Pimlico, rode that good-looking Curlin colt for my pal Mike Rapoli named Legit, who's a perfect 2 for 2, and I saw Tyler was riding at Belmont, won a couple of races up there yesterday. Talking Point on top. regarding your super, but tell us a little bit about the number 3, Accountant Q.
Yeah, I would move him up a little bit after looking at that work. His race, first time off the layoff, was a good one. Last time out, I really don't know what happened other than he had to wait and had to wait and had to wait some more. Chamafi on the return call. They did go pretty quick for the level last time out. I thought Accountant Q was a viable alternative. Rocky Strange, not my kind of racehorse, but I will not take any shot at anybody, including you, to pick them on top.
Well, I appreciate that. And by the way, Ralph Nix does really well with these first-time starters, especially in maiden claiming races on the dirt. I think this goes back to, A, him being just a top-class, top-flight horseman, a former assistant, longtime assistant to Bill Mott, and B, spotting his horses appropriately and properly in their respective debuts, and he's 10 for 48 for 21%. And ROI, that's pretty nice there, and you get Gaffleone riding on the 4, Talking Point, who might like a wet track today. Let's move on to the race, 7th race, my friend. Opening leg of Sunday's late pick 5, and a 5-pack set to go in this 7th race, an off-the-turf 1-mile event, 12-5 maiden claimers, 3 and up. And what are you doing in the late pick 5? Do you like Marquee Moon from the outside?
I really like Marquee Moon from the outside, but it's hard to hang your hat on that type of form, even with the major class drop in the second start of the form cycle. A little bit of a guessing game in this first leg. I'll use Marquee Moon and hope he wakes up. I'll use Brandt off the strength of his last race. He finished up really well. He got his tail whipped by French Accent that day. And how about a little spice to your life, Jason? Number 6, Johnny Jr. His dirt form at Tampa's not bad. It's really not bad. He ran 3rd, beaten 3 lengths to Brave Request, who's come back to clear the non-2 and non-3 conditions since then. He will be overlooked, and he does have some dirt form. I like the number 7 in the 8th race, Sound of the Tap. I never pick horses right back off a maiden win. The difference is this horse has really been on my radar since he debuted coming in from Penn National. I think he can take another. I'm also going to use the 2, Steve Sonata, as a defensive move there with the scratch of the 6. In the 9th race, I'll go 2 deep. I think we have the right 2. Sal's Jet and African Chief appear to tower over the field. I'm 4 deep in the feature race. You said it was tough. I agree with you. I'll use Silver Defense, Social Roy, Red Crescent, and Acor. Try to beat Tell Me a Story in there. And then I'm 2 deep in the last. I also like the one that you did, Don't Believe Watch. But the speed of number 5, Eternal Tempest, has me a bit concerned with just a compact field of 4. This horse has a victory over the main track, and I think could be firing right to the top for Dennis Ward off the shelf. So it's a $27 play. Actually, I don't think that's true. I think it's a $48 play.
Well, you'll be sending it in for 48
I'll
bucks.
be playing it.
I know you will, and you might even be playing it for more than 50 cents when it's all said and done. Now, this opening leg, to me, the 9, Marquee Moon, I know the form, your knee-jerk reaction might be like, whoa. I mean, this horse has not been close, beaten double-digit lengths in all 3 career starts. This is my kind of horse dropping down to the bottom.
Here's the thing, too, you can use as a gauge. If the 3, Accountant Q, who I like, runs well in race 6, Marquee Moon moves even farther up. They're coming out of the same race.
All right, good point there. David Fox and Miguel teaming up from the outside in race number 7. As we flip the page, we're on to race number 8, a 2-lifetime 1-mile 6250 claimer in which you and I lost my top pick, the number 6, AP Doro, out of this one. But you and I clearly have a little bit of a disagreement. And in talking about that initial Rainbow 6, Pete, that I had for, it was just under 60 bucks, one of the horses I trimmed is your top pick, who you're clearly pretty bullish on in the 7, Sound of the Tap. I like the speed. Part of me says, though, is a mile pushing it with him as far as can he stay this mile distance?
That's a fair point, I guess, but he's just run so good. I mean, I can make an excuse or say something good about every race he's run since he came to South Florida. Please take note that the 2 times he tried a mile here at Gulfstream Park, he went a half mile in 46 and lived to hit the board that day. The second time he went a half mile in 47, deadly second quarter. I'm a big proponent of that. If you see that in the form, I talked about it yesterday. I really, truly believe it. If the second quarter is faster than the first, and you're a speed horse, that gives you an alibi right there because it means you got stung hard going to the half-mile point.
Now, McManaman is where I went, and I know much like Marquee Moon in the race prior, this horse has completely fallen apart. However, I've seen lately, this week alone, signs of life from trainer Antonio Sano, who runs a lot of horses. I thought he had a good day here Friday with the win and a couple of close finishes. And the fact that they've just gone back to the drawing board with about a 2-month break in races with this horse dropping in for the bottom, I'm going to take him. You've also got the 2 Steve Sonata.
Yeah, that's a defensive play. More on Sound of the Tap. The last time he ran, he beat Travie Boy, who aired earlier this week. 2 starts ago, he lost to Chase Your Dreams, who came right back and won yesterday. Not in your program, but that should be italicized.
And I was embarrassed yesterday with our dollar horse for horse, Trev versus Cantaclaro, and that race was over. They sprung the latch. Boom, Trev right on top from the outside, and that race, it was good night, everybody. Why don't we do a little double or nothing? I'll take McManaman against the 7 Sound of the Tap.
I wasn't going to suggest it because McManaman's going to be a good price, but that's fine.
Yeah, let's get it.
I'm a Sound of the Tap fan, so that's good for me.
Double or nothing, because I could see you and I having a bunch of agreements throughout the final 3 races. So let's take our little stand. We'll draw the battle line there in race number 8, and we'll flip the page. We come up on race number 9. 5/8 on the main, $10,000 3-and-up claimer. African Chief makes a lot of sense, as does the 1 Sal's Jet. I like the race. This might be the race. We're going to have to do it then. Dude, that race last time out was Smart Dude. Moisture in the track. He's not a dirt horse. He ran unbelievably well.
Yeah, but I think that figure is way inflated.
It does stick out like a sore thumb.
Because Majestic Tom, who won that race, had absolutely no dirt form to speak of and tripped out perfect under Tony Mirage. I'm up for anything you want to do here. 9 against the 5,
yeah,
1
let's
against
do that.
the 5.
So all right, we're doing it. We're going for a deuce. We got action in the 8th and we got action in the 9th. I think moisture in the track really worked to the benefit of the 5 Smart Dude. And the last, a good race. I think he's going to replicate it, my friend.
I think that figure is a big-time mistake, so I'm looking forward to that. And the African Chief might not win, but I think he's got enough bottom to outrun the field.
Oh, he's a real dirt horse for sure. I would argue going in. I mean, him and Sal's Jet, as far as probably dirt form goes, they've just done more running than anybody else in the race. But again, I think the last race from Smart Dude, a very good sign, and a good sign that'll get him right into the winner's circle.
I needed him last time, so I know all about his last race.
So you're a little salty because you needed him last.
I'm not a little salty at all. He lost to a horse who couldn't stand up on the main track. I'm not going to take a horse like that. No thanks.
Big fig.
You get me fired up again as we get to the last 2 races.
Not trying to raise your blood pressure. I don't want you to stroke out here on the show, but I'm glad you're feeling it, you're passionate, and you're on the muscle here as we come up on the Sunday feature, because this is just a solid allowance race.
See, and then we go right back
on
to
the dirt, and then boom, we both have Silver Defense on top, who will have to face, for my money, this horse, the number 3 Social Roy, has been nothing short of a miraculous win machine. He is near the top, and we'll show you his last start here on April 27th. He has been amazing for trainer Oscar Gonzalez, and when you consider he was claimed for the bottom level, $6,250. This horse is among the toughest, most durable, honest race horses based in South Florida.
I know you have buddies that own horses, so do I, and my buddy used to own this horse, and he's still mad about losing him. So the question with Social Roy, and I don't know, maybe it's a rhetorical question, when will he have a bad day? He never runs a bad race.
I know, and I had gone into his last. He's a big favorite at 6-5 in the race that he gutted out the win over Small Fortune. I said, I'm a huge Social Roy fan, love him as a horse. Today's the day, though, that he's going to take a step back and start to dwindle in his current form. Didn't happen.
Yep. Yeah, I have nothing to add to that.
Well, what about Silver Defense? Enlighten me about the number 2 Silver Defense.
Well, you picked him on top 2, so I'll go with my angle first, and you can add to it. Cutting back off the turf in a race that he really had no business having any shot in anyway, against a field that was really better than him anyway, on a surface that he had kind of been in and out on. His race 2 back was his 2nd place finish behind Mr. Joshua, who has been a machine since about early February here in South Florida. If he runs that race back, he's an easy winner. 3 starts ago, he runs against Harry He. He moved entirely too soon that day and was very wide on the course. 4 starts ago, he was an easy winner over this main track. So for my money, he's run 3 races on this main track, all very, very good, and class-wise stacks up perfectly.
And you mentioned the main track with this stat. It comes into play in general. Peter Walder, and good to see Peter back here at Gulfstream Park on track. I know Mike Welsh had a little story with Peter, who was very open about his recent stint in rehab, but he's healthy, he's doing well, and his horse is horses have been running well, too. And you see that turf to dirt move, batting 34% with a near 80 starter sample. That bodes well for the 2 Silver Defense. Other horses in the race, the number 4 Tell Me a Story will get bet, although this is a much tougher race in terms of field quality than the one he exits out of in late April. And Acor might really like getting back on and off track.
3-year-old against older, but that was the reason he made my ticket, is that I do think he'll like the footing outside. Yeah,
absolutely. As we wrap up the day, just a field of 4 here in Sunday's last. It's a off-the-turf 5-furlong 3-and-up filly mare, $10,000 claimer. I didn't know where else to go outside of Don't Believe Watch, who's got speed inside, but not as fast. And you brought up some good points with the 5 Eternal Tempest, who's in from Tampa.
Yeah, but on the other hand, you brought up some good points on number 9, Magic 2, who actually the last time she took to the slop at Gulfstream, she was an easy winner. The key question here, and I'd love somebody to be able to definitively tell me, if you can give me the margins and the order an 1/8 of a mile into this race, I'll give you the super.
What a guy, folks.
I leave him speechless again. I think that's mic drop territory now.
Yep, exactly. What a guy. That's why I love Pete Aiello the way I do. So we're going to take a little breather. And the good news again for you, you don't have to get up. You're right here. You got the changes. You set to go.
The bad news is we got a lot of changes to get to, so don't go away.